Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here. Today's video is about a sector which typically comes into limelight just before the budget. I hope you've already guessed it right. It's about Indian Railways sector. So in today's video, we are going to answer 5 key pointers. Number 1, has the pre-budget rally in railways already started? Number 2, can railway stocks outperform in January 2026? Then we'll talk about budget expectations for Indian railways. Then we'll move on to a fun fact and ultimately we'll understand about the technical analysis for Indian railway stocks. The video is going to be my animation team has gotten a railway. So it'll be really important to see whether it gets a red signal or whether it gets a green signal and these stocks zoom by. Now let's start with the very first point, whether has the pre-budget rally already started in railway stocks or not. According to me, the answer is no. You know why? Because whatever rally we saw typically the last week of December, that was not mainly because of the budget expectations, but that was because of a railway fare hike. Now, what was that all about? If you check out the news article, it very clearly mentions that there will be a fare hike implementation in FY 2026, which is, by the way, which has already become effective from December 26th, 2025. Now, how much is the fare hike? It's a pretty modest hike, which is around 1 to 2 paise per kilometer, and it is expected to generate nearly 600 crore rupees in additional revenue during the fiscal year. So, what 3-4 important points we understood? Number 1, the pre-budget rally, I believe, has not yet started because whatever hike we saw in the railway stocks, that was mainly because of the price hike, okay, or the fare hike. Number 2, we said though the fare hike is as low as 1 to 2 paisa per kilometer, in totality it is expected to generate a 600 crore revenue. Now, important point number 3 is that the hike or the fare money, whatever will be collected, that is not going to go directly to the listed companies. Who will collect that money? That will be collected by Indian Railways. So how can it impact the stocks, which did see a good move in last week of December? The thing is that if Indian Railway gets more revenue, their financial position gets strengthened and they will have a higher capacity to spend more on what? It could be on infrastructure, it could be on railways, it could be about the technical upgrades. So all these things will definitely give a positive sentimental boost. So with this understanding, now we need to really understand what can happen to the railway stocks in the month of January 2026. Can we see a fresh rally in this month? Rather than giving a plain vanilla yes or no as an answer, first let's understand that why do railway stocks really see an up move? There is a logic behind that. And I personally believe that the key trigger which actually leads to the stock price movement is capex, capital expenditure in Indian railways. So let's understand the logic. If higher capex is allocated for railways, what will happen is there will be an additional order book for these railway stocks. Higher the order book, it will lead to a positive sentiment in railway stocks, and that is the reason why we will see a rally in railway stocks. Okay, let me just repeat it one more time. Number 1, we said higher capex. Higher capex will lead to a bigger order book. Bigger order book will lead to a positive sentiment, will lead to rise in stock prices. Simple. Okay. Now what do we have to analyze? We have to analyze what was the capex over the last 3-4 years and how did it impact the railway stock prices. Okay. Let's go one by one. The very first one is fiscal 22-23, where the total allocation capex was 2,04,000 crores. Okay. Now, from this, in 23-24, we saw a railway allocation jump by 26% capex to 2,60,200 crores. That was like a massive boost which was given for Indian railways. And of course, needless to tell you that railway stocks like zoomed up during this period. Okay. Now, we are going to typically closely watch last 2 years and we'll also cross check that with stock prices as well. Okay, now what happened in 24-25 is really interesting. 24-25, the total allocation moved up from 2,60,200 crores to 2,65,200 crores, which is just a 1.9% increase in capex or increase in allocation for Indian railways. Was this a big one? Answer is absolutely no. Could there be a disappointment? Yes. Okay, remember this. Lower capex will lead to a disappointment. And if we understand about 25-26, now here comes a big surprise where the allocation was kept constant at 2,65,200. So basically change from previous year was 0%. And it was like a Darda disco moment. Why? Because the total capex as a budgetary capex increased by almost 10%, but the capex for railways was absolutely flat, no rise. Okay, so is that going to have a negative impact on stocks? Needless to say that, but just because I am saying, that doesn't count in as yes, right? So let's have a look at what were the 2024 returns for railway stocks. I've listed out the stocks: IRCTC, RVNL, IRFC, RITES, RailTel, Titagarh, IRCON, BEML, and JWL. Okay, Jupiter Wagons Limited. Now, if you see here for 24, where there was only barely 2% increase in capex, post-budget returns were all negative. -6%, so -3% was the smallest actually, and the largest was -19.48%. Huge negatives post budget. Okay, so post budget, why could there be negative returns? There could be two reasons. Number one is it's a pure play profit booking, and number two, it is total disappointment. Something else was expected and something else came out. Okay, total disappointment, because of which post budget returns could be bad. By the way, how have I calculated this post budget returns? It's from the date of budget to 1 month later. Okay, that is how I've calculated the post budget returns. Also, let's understand pre budget returns in 2024. How have I calculated pre budget returns? This is the date of the budget and I'm going 1 month back. Okay, now if you see here, pre budget may only two stocks have given a negative return: IRCTC -0.4% and JWL, Jupiter Wagons, -5.78%. So barring these two stocks, all stocks have given a positive return. In fact, highest being RVNL of 49.81% return in 1 month. This is pre-budget rally. Okay, but as I mentioned, what was the actual outcome? Actual outcome was only 2% capex, and then we saw a big correction. What happened in 2025? Everyone may have guessed that this year also it may not be a big bumper. So overall rally pre-budget was also not that great. You can see here highest rally was 11.26%, and that was with whom? RVNL again. RVNL at 11.26% return. And then you can see that overall highest loss was for Jupiter Wagons with 20.98% as a pre-budget return. What happened post budget? 1 month post budget, you can see all stocks in negative, and double digit negative returns. Why? Because no one had expected 0% increase in capex, where the overall capex increased by 10ish percent, right? Now what has happened? 2026, you can see NAY, because the budget has not yet, I mean, it will be on the 1st of February, right? So 1st February to 28th February is what we will calculate. What I've done is, starting 1st of January till now, if you check, overall all stocks are in little bit minus. Okay, now what did we see in 24? In 24, almost all stocks gave a positive return. In 25 also, barring 3-4 stocks, almost all gave a decent, at least somewhere between 1% to 3-4% whatever return. But till now in 2026, we have seen not even one stock giving a positive 1% return. So it will be really interesting to watch what is in the store for 2026. So the next big question that comes up for us is, what is the expectation for Indian Railways in the budget for financial year 26-27? Because if the expectation is good, if these expectations are met, then railway stocks can see a nice momentum, and we should also focus on which stocks could get benefited. Now, to understand which stocks can perform well, we need to understand what could be the capex for 26-27 for the railway sector. And for that, what we did was, we went through various news articles, we read a lot of reports, and what we saw was, for 26-27, it is expected that railway budget allocation can increase from somewhere between 3 to 10%. Now, why am I giving such a wide range? Some news articles mentioned 3%, some said 5%, some said 7%, some said 10%. Okay, so that is the reason why I'm giving you a range of 3% to 10%. Now, if you remember, last year, how much was the increase? Increase was 0%, it was flat. Uske previous year, it was 1.9%, and right now we are saying that the increase is expected by somewhere between 3 to 10%. So higher than the last 2 years. Is that a good sign? Yes. But where is the expenditure expected to be? Two things which were found out as common points in a lot of news articles. Number one is about 300 to 400 new Vande Bharat trains. That is one point. And second point is a focus on safety, which they call it as Kavach. Just to give you an example of safety, two trains should not collide, right? So anti-collision systems can also be set in place so that the safety of railways is enhanced. Now, if I were to understand these 2 points, number one, 300 to 400 new Vande Bharat trains, obviously a lot of wagons will be required, and for that we can focus on stocks something like Titagarh or Jupiter Wagons. And if I'm talking about railway safety kavach point, then RailTel can be one stock because that specifically talks about technology inside railways. Okay, so needless to say that these are not stock recommendations. I'm just telling you which stocks are giving which sort of products or services. So these three names appear on your screen. So now that you have understood that yes, we do expect an increase in capex, we know which could be the focus areas. Now let us move on with a fun fact which I found out while I was doing the research for this video. So I was analyzing this railway stock, which the name is RVNL, and the point that I was analyzing is how much pre-budget rally have different railway stocks given. And this was one stock which surprised me with the pre-budget rally. Why am I saying that? Again, please, not a stock recommendation. This is a fun fact, okay? So let's understand what happened in January 25. Okay, January 25, you can see a 12.68% pre-budget rally because 1st February we do see the budget coming up. Now let's move on with January 24, and you can see a rally of 69.79%. Of course, this was the year of election, so we did have an interim budget as well somewhere in the month of, I think, July. It was again a 44% rally. Then let us move on with January 23, where we again saw an 11.5% rally in the stock. Now let us move on to January 22, and in January 22 we can see a flat but still 3.6% rally. And ultimately let's move on with January 21, where we again see a 30.42% rally. So what has been seen in this stock as a fun fact is that this stock has typically been performing pretty well as a pre-budget rally. So again, never ever jump to conclusions. This is what we have seen, what has happened in the past, but you need to understand the financials, you need to understand the technicals, and then you need to take a call whatever you want based on your study. So with this, now we will have to understand as to overall all the 9 railway stocks that we are talking about, how are they poised based on technical analysis. Now, what you can see on the screen right now is not any specific stock. No railway stock is trading at this level of 5027 or whatever. This is like an index that I have prepared of all these stocks. You can see here IRFC, IRCTC, JWL, RVNL, RITES, RailTel, Titagarh, IRCON. All these are the stocks that I've included in the index. And here you can very clearly see it's at an amazing point right now. It's at a juncture like a make or break level. This is a clear downward sloping trend line, and it will be really interesting to check whether this breaks out from here or it sees a reversal. That will again, what time will tell us. But something extremely interesting is what we can see even right here. So what have we seen here? When we saw this rally, look at the volumes right here, okay, in this rally. Now when we are seeing this entire fall, and fall of how much? Fall of almost 25-26%. I'm talking about 9 stocks ka index, okay, 25 to 26%. And look at the volumes here, not as high as these volumes. And what we can see right here is in the month of December, again some amazing interest is being built up in the stock and in the stocks, and you can see that the rally has happened in railway stocks. You might be like, Rachana, how come you are showing latest data? 6th January data is available. This is not of any stock. This is an index which I have prepared for all 9 stocks, based on which I hope it's absolutely clear it's at a very decider level with good volumes. So what you are required to do as a homework right now is you have to check all these 9 stocks individually, do a technical analysis, and which stock according to you is poised for a nice breakout. The name of that stock is what you have to tell me in the comment section below. I hope you found a lot of value in today's video. If you did, please don't forget to smash the like button. Please don't forget to share this video with your friends. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye. You might have come across such advertisements on various social media platforms. Please note, all of these are fraudsters promising unbelievable returns through stock tips. I don't provide any calls or advisory services. I provide only educational content through my social media handles and through my website rachanaranade.com and rachanaranade.in.